Jay Nevin Smith, and Randy Iser. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, signed by the Governor, on February 15th, 2022, I announced that this meeting of the Select Board is being recorded by Hadley Media, the Select Board's office via Zoom, and ask if there's anyone present who is also recording this meeting. Okay. Let the minutes reflect that nobody else has indicated that they are recording this meeting. All right, 2.1, appointments, charter license renewal. Welcome to the Town of Hadley's public hearing on the charter's cable license renewal. I, Amy Parsons, chairwoman of the Select Board of Hadley, which is the cable license issuing authority under Mass General Law, Chapter 166A. Notice of this hearing was in the local newspaper for 2 successive weeks. Copies of the legal advertisements are here entered into the record as ascertainment hearing exhibits 1 and 2. A copy of the proposed license has been available for public inspection at the office of the town administrator and select board. By way of background, Charter's current license to operate in Hadley expires on March 18th, 2024. State law requires the holding of a public hearing prior to final action on the possible approval of a proposed renewal license, which shall include opportunity for public comment on town's needs and the proposed renewal. Based on information before us this evening and based on prior public testimony and a prior public hearing, the select board may take final action on the renewal proposal before us for possible execution this evening. Any public comments as well as questions to charter should be directed through me, and I will rule whether they are in order. Please keep your comments no longer than 4 minutes. At this time, we invite and welcome members of the public to come forward, identify yourself, and testify and provide comments, if any. Yeah, if you just want to come sit right here in the front, there is a microphone there, which I think you can turn to yours. Yeah, it's on.
Hi, I'm Pat Layton. I live at 105 Honey Pot Road. And I'm here to basically petition somehow that we not renew this contract until Charter actually gives everybody in Hadley cable service. A little bit of history, there's a group in Hadley that does not have cable. There's Honey Pot Road, there's the end of Cemetery Road, Moody Bridge Road, South Maple Street, houses off Chamora Lane. I was on the cable committee in 21. David Phil was the head of it. David Nixon was the administrator. He had a complete list of all the places in Hadley who did not have cable. And there was we tried hard on the committee to somehow get included that as part of the contract, they would indeed service everybody in Hadley. It's tough. I won't go through what it's like not having internet service. We all work off hotspots with phones. It's tough in this day and age. I did try with Charter 3 years ago to figure out how they could please get service at least down to us and thereby to the rest of Hadley. There is a Federal Communications Commission rural broadband law that was passed on December 23rd, 2020, in which Charter received $2.7 million to wire up 1,950 new rural broadband services in Hampshire County. I tried my darndest to get through to Charter to somebody who knew about that, knew that there was this pot of money sitting there. It is actually The algorithm has a decreasing amount of money over time that they get to incentivize that they would do it ASAP. There was no way that I could get to anybody at Charter who would even recognize that the program existed. It's easy to find on the internet if you have internet service. Since then, the FCC has several other broadband services. There are several billion that have been made available. There's a list of all of the service providers in this country, and it includes Charter that can get the money and put the last mile of cable in. I think that frankly, my experience is that Charter could care less. If they just, I don't know. So as a citizen, I'm saying, let's hold up this contract until in the contract, then it's 10 years, I believe. It stipulates that they will pursue the money or whatever the verbiage needs to be, that they will indeed service everybody in this town. They got a monopoly. That is what the other side of that coin is. Thank you.
May I get a copy of what the FCC law you have there?
Tell them who you are, Alex.
My name is Alex Martian. I'm Media Director for the town of Hadley. I've also been working on the cable contract.
If you just Google Federal Communications Commission
Right.
Rural Broadband Service, you'll get all of the PDFs of all of
Right,
it.
but I want the thing in front of you though.
These were just my notes from 3 years ago when we were working on the committee trying to somehow get this through. I'm not sure what
Well,
happened.
Can I jump in with a comment?
Yeah,
Introduce yourself.
Yes, please.
Bill, sorry, Bill's with us.
Hi, Bill August. Thank you. And your comments are your concerns are, of course, deeply appreciated by the town. I'm Bill August, Municipal Cable Council to many municipalities every year. That's basically what I do, municipal cable, when I'm helping Hadley. We did have several conversations about Honey Pot Road, Cemetery Road, and I think it's called Moody Bridge. With the person we found the person at Charter who handles this, John Marr, the Director of Government Relations in Massachusetts, and just the the town has diligently attempted to do this. We have not succeeded. I'll just tell you, straight as an arrow, the total truth, so you'll understand. Alex also and the town administrator engaged with John Marr. We filed a letter from the town administrator's office on town letterhead to John Marr. We identified actually the leading program 3 years ago. You were talking about the rural broadband. We identified the most active source of funds for line extension in rural areas. It's the Mass Broadband Institute Network Gap Program. We spoke with the head of the Mass Broadband. I'm just saying this by way of due diligence, so that at least there's some understanding of how many, I would say, heroic attempts we made to get the most current detailed funding information and people at Charter. Did we succeed? Not in the license, and they will never put in the license that they will do 100% service area, nor could we deny a license over that, because legally, under the license renewal standard, you cannot deny over a requirement which is commercially impracticable. And under the precedents that exist, they could say that's commercially impracticable. And if you were to stand on the town's rights to say it's commercially practicable to do line extension where the density is like less than 15 homes per mile. You basically buy the town maybe $100,000, $200,000 lawsuit minimum, because it would go to federal court, blah, blah, blah. So yes, we should pursue it, and we are pursuing it. No, I would say just one man's honest opinion, you could not deny a license over it. I wish you could. I've banged my head against the wall on many line extension battles with Comcast. They don't do 100% service area Comcast. They have density standards, like 15 homes per aerial mile. Same with Verizon. They have density standards, unless you're in the middle of Somerville or Cambridge, where every street has 100 homes per mile or 100 household. So it's not going to happen through a license denial unless you want to spin your wheels and like a federal court that they would immediately go to and lose. That's my opinion. And I'm not alone in that. Now, in terms of due diligence, this was a priority for us to attempt to get them to get the money. And where it stands right now is they are evaluating the feasibility of building it out with the money that's currently available. All the federal money comes through MBI now. It doesn't come down from the FCC or a federal agency. The feds distribute it to a Massachusetts agency. It's called Mass Broadband Institute. And John Marr has done MBI applications. He's familiar with them. And as of now, he had it surveyed. He had those streets surveyed. And what they are telling him is that even with the MBI funding, it's so expensive to do those roads that they don't see a way for it to be feasible. So that's where we are right now. Now, if you hold up the license over it, we'll lose other money because they're willing to increase the support for the local channels from 4% to 5%. We're getting a net increase under the proposed renewal license. It'll give some longevity to your local studio, Hadley Media. That's the main reason we wanted to renew it. Because with the cord cutting right now, their revenues are going down each year. And we are currently getting 4% of gross revenues to support your local studio. That's trending down. So the way to kind of have stabilize it is to go to the 5%. If we don't do the renewal, we'll lose that cash flow that we could get to the studio. So it's a complicated bunch of competing concerns, and we're totally empathetic with where you're coming from, and that's kind of the bundle of values and interests that everyone's trying to weigh and balance.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
If the whole thing comes down to what the dollar practicality of this is, are you saying that even with the federal dollars that get handed out through Massachusetts, whatever, that even then Comcast is going to say, no, it's not financially practical?
Charter.
They're being, the idea of the rural broadband law, as I understood it, was to actually pay the couple companies to make it worth their while to do precisely what we need them to do.
Well, according to Charter, the Massachusetts distribution of the funds would cover a percentage, but not 100%. And their remaining percentage, due to the lack of density on those streets, according to them, is still, now, I'm not saying it, the Charter is saying it, is commercially impracticable. They're not done evaluating it. Like John Marr's trying to get them, the engineers and the surveyors who made that kind of like an initial finding to him. He's trying to look at that further. So it's just, unfortunately, you know, the license is expiring on March 18th. We pushed real hard to get a commitment for them to get the MBI money and do it. And their corporate is pushing back, not the Massachusetts government relations guy, but corporate is pushing him back. He can't decide. He has to get corporate buy-in. And, you know, they're losing subscribers with the cord cutting and the Netflix and whatnot. So however hard it was 3 years ago, you guys worked on it 3 years ago, 5 years ago. It's harder now than it was then because they have fewer subscribers and everyone's saying cable is dwindling. So I'm not disagreeing. I'm just trying to be as transparent as I can, telling you that's what I and Alex and Carolyn Brennan have experienced through this very difficult attempt to get them to do it.
Is it possible to negotiate with these people that I think those of us down on Honey Pot would certainly be willing to put something, excuse the pun, into the pot? Now, when we worked with them before, they wanted $53,000, 71 cents from
For how
each
many
of us.
households?
Five
5?
households.
I don't think he heard the individual, Pat. I think
Per
he,
person, Bill.
They wanted just over $53,000 from each of the 5 houses.
Oh my
at the end of
gosh.
Honey Pot Road
Oh
in
my
order
gosh.
to run cable down.
Oh my gosh, right.
Yeah, you know, sure, I think that frankly, just to try to get hooked into the 21st century, yeah, I'd be willing to put a few thousand into it.
About,
I
you'd
think
be willing to do
neighbors
what?
would
You'd be
too.
willing to, what do you, what, I don't, maybe you should, I didn't hear the number you said.
A few thousand.
It was-
I said a few thousand, you
Oh,
know,
okay,
I mean,
yeah, okay,
I'm just
yeah,
off
that's
the top of
fair
my
enough,
head.
fair enough, fair enough.
So, I can speak for Mill Valley Road, what we had to do to get it.
Speak up.
I'm sorry, I never know what this is like, but I know on Mill Valley Road, what we had to do is we got with everybody on my road and we did a cost share with them. And I think altogether it was $14,000 and it took about 3 years for us to get.
14,000 for everybody or each?
I think it was, they connected in at South Maple Street and then they brought it down to my house, which is the last one in Hadley. And I think it was just over 14,000 and they did a cost share. So I think it was like 30, it must have been like 30,000 altogether, but they cost shared with us.
Right. They have a formula for cost sharing that all the cable companies, you know, they take the standard density, which is considered to be around 15 homes per household minimum. I mean, sometimes 20 homes is probably much more common. I think it's 20 homes. And they see what the average cost for construction is on a 20 home street. And then they look at the street in question and the amount by which that street exceeds the standard installation cost. And then they'll pay this amount that would have costed for a standard street, and then the residents pay the excess through cost sharing. Do they have to do your Honey Pot Road? Do you know approximately how far it is from the cable system?
They told me that it would start at the beginning of Cemetery Lane. So I don't know exactly how far it is, probably 1.2 miles.
Right.
Just over a mile to get to the other side of the dike.
To get there?
Right where the dump comes off, North Branch Lane.
So
I believe that's
to,
where the cable actually, they figure is the closest. I think it's closer where Crosspath comes across Route 9, but be that as it may.
did they give you any like schematics or plans
No.
at that time?
No.
Yes, that's it's, all right, I mean, Alex is like into this, and I don't want to be the only one talking and kind of
Mhm.
hogging the oxygen here. Just Alex, what's your sense of it?
I mean, knowing where Honey Pot Road is, I don't see why they couldn't, but I know our hands are tied when it comes to this because of the way they are. They have more money than we have. And I hear your concerns, and we're working very hard to make sure that everyone gets equitable digital equity. So I understand, I hear you. I know it's frustrating not to have adequate internet even in 2024. So we're working on it. I hear you. Um, so just know
David,
that.
if
Do
I
you
may.
live down there full time, Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how-
So I actually agree with you. I agree that coming off of Route 9 would get to you quicker than going from Cemetery Road, the corner of Lesko's property.
Right.
Down and up over the hill. I mean, I'm not exactly sure where your property is, but if you come in from Route 9, where are you from that position?
At the very end of Honey Pot, so you can't see it from. So
Down by Hoffy's property?
who's?
Hoffy? Mr.
Oh, yes.
Down
Yeah,
there.
Hoppy's one of them,
Yes, and he's,
one of the five.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but-
they're all-
Yeah, right. No,
Could they- but
there's
could they
two
get to-
houses that
Could they
are-
get
that
to
are
your
gone.
street? Could they get to your street from Route 9 going down another street, or do they have to cross private property?
No, they'd be on, public
Public way?
streets that show up in the hat. Yeah,
Like, you have electricity down there,
yeah. Oh,
so
the poles are there,
The poles are there.
it's
cemetery down that way, but they.
Right.
But they are Route 9 over,
exact,
yeah.
yes. I guess talking to them about why don't they come off Route 9? Why do you insist that the nearest intersection is on Cemetery?
Cause there'll never be houses on cemetery, there's no water and sewer or whatever
Right, right.
at this point. I should say.
Brandy had something.
So Bill and Alex. Who can you direct Mr. Layton to talk to somebody? It's obvious that he and his neighbors are willing to negotiate
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
With the cable company. We can't do that here this evening. We're just wasting time talking.
Yeah.
We're not gonna accomplish anything. So either the town's gonna negotiate on their behalf, or they're gonna negotiate on their own behalf. And if that's the case, they need to know who to go to so that they can
Right,
say, look,
well, the guy,
what can the government do? What can we do?
right, the person, the key person who is charged by charter, which by the way is legally Spectrum Northeast. They changed ownership a couple of years ago, but they do business as Charter. It's owned by Spectrum now. Is John Marr, and I know John for 20 years. John's a good guy. He's working for a big corporation, and he has to play it close to the chest. So like sometimes he'll just like say, I'll take it back. I'll take it back. I know John tries, but he takes it back to a very, very large corporation, and he has to, be loyal. So it's you have to be patient with him, but he's worth pursuing. I know from experience. So John is the guy. If there's someone else, I don't know who it is. John has always handled these things. And he's in a tough spot. And he would, I think, you're right to ask. It's a great question, because we could ask John to set up a meeting, but with you want to get, the thing is to get at these meetings, a real engineer type, and get beyond John, to maybe try to get John to bring an engineer who has surveyed it, because John's a lawyer and a government relations person, and at the end of the day, he's not gonna know the real technicalities about how to do it in a really, the most cost-effective way. He'll just look at schematics that they probably do on a computer. But you know, the engineers are more like, let's try to do it. Some of them like can-do attitude. So I'd say, you know, the person is John, and ask him if he can schedule a meeting with these homeowners. But bringing the operational engineering types, because I find they're better than the government relations types. If, you know, the town could facilitate trying to set up that meeting, and hopefully John will come through and not give us
But I think we
sometimes the
should-
company gives people the runaround, I will say.
think we should-
But John can't let on that that's happening, so we have to try to break through that.
Bill, I think we should do that on behalf of the town to encourage John Marr to, get a meeting going with these people that are looking for it. I don't think that the people should be responsible for being in touch with John Marr. I think we should at least extend that
Yeah.
out to him.
That will
And
carry
have-
more weight. That will carry more weight.
Well, why don't we? Who's gonna do this?
I assume Alex.
Yeah, I'll do it.
You do it, Alex?
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll,
Alex should do it. Alex should do it with Carolyn's or the town administrators like presence, because they give more weight. They give the most weight to like the town administrators and managers when they're in the loop.
all right, well, let's do it.
Okay, and then we have Mark.
Hey, good evening, Mark Britton. I own 93 Cemetery Road. I just wanted to add a couple things about the cable. Back in April of 2019, I reached out to Spectrum about bringing internet, not so much cable TV, but internet down to my property. And June 6th of 2019, I had an engineer actually come out there. The closest drop for Honey Pot and Cemetery is actually, so it's called a cable drop. The closest cable drop is Cross Path and Cemetery up on the pole right there. So it'd be a matter of them running lines. They said that that drop had enough power to run Honey Pot and Cemetery, and they said it had plenty of power. So the engineer that came out, he looked at everything, and I was in correspondence with him, and the quoted amount for my property was going to be roughly in the $12,000 range. But they also did inform me that there were federal grants out there that the internet company or the cable companies had to put in rural service, and they were going to look into it. And it kind of died off after that. And I tried getting a hold of people, and people moved around, and that was just it. But I know people in Cemetery. I'm a seasonal person down there, but I have cameras. It's not so much for cable. I mean, Bill was mentioning about, people are cutting the cord, but we do need internet to go on Netflix and use those streaming services and whatnot. So, I mean, it's mainly for internet service. I mean, the average customer is paying close to $100 a month. Right now I have Starlink, which I'm paying $140 a month for. It's great service, but when it rains or snows or it's windy out, it goes out just like satellite. But
Right.
I mean, it's 2024. We should be able to be hooked up to a network in town, especially in the rural areas. I don't know
No,
about
it's
Moody Bridge.
essential. It's essential. It's an essential service. You do have Starlink is available at times.
Yes,
Most of
so
the-
Starlink, like I said, Starlink is great. I just pay a little bit more than I would for Comcast or Spectrum. I have Comcast at my residence, and it does work good when it works. Like I said, weather-wise, sometimes it'll go out, and it's kind of gets frustrating.
All right,
I
thank
think
you.
Thank you very, how many people are on Cemetery Road that would purchase from Spectrum, if you know?
So there's 2 permanent houses on Cemetery Road down on my end, and then there's a few seasonal campsites which we would all purchase it. I know Mr. Pipinski owns on Honey Pot, but they could probably shoot it from Cemetery, and then you have myself, and two permanent residents, and then you have North Branch Parkway, I believe. You have seasonal campers over there, which I'm sure they would go for it also.
Seasonal campers could purchase a hard wire connection from a cable company?
Yeah, so I mean, I looked into Verizon, and I could actually get a Verizon phone line brought to my property, and anybody can, but it's DSL, which is kind of archaic, and it's a super slow speed.
All right.
Interesting.
All right.
Is there any use in trying to go to our, McGovern state, our federal representatives and
We can, but why don't you let us try to go
Okay.
this route with Alex and our administrator
Let,
first?
let
Let
me
me know
email
some-
you.
Can I mention one footnote, just about the comment that it's a monopoly, just for the benefit of the public, in terms of like, this license that we have before you, like the current one, is completely non-exclusive. So I don't want anyone to think, oh, the town is going to sign off and let one company have this deal. No, I mean, all these licenses are non-exclusive that we do. The problem is other cable companies don't show up and compete. It's not that there's any exclusivity or monopoly. Okay.
All right.
And I'll email you, I'll email Mark,
great,
and others, and I will make sure we have a meeting and we talk to people
okay,
and get this done.
all right.
It's
Thank you
good,
very
it's gonna take a bit, but we'll
Thanks,
do our
Alex.
best.
Thank you for coming.
Is there any other public comments or questions? Okay.
My name is John Silvestro, 157 Rocky Hill Road in Hadley. I don't know much about, I haven't read the renewal proposal or any of the details, but I wanted to express my concern about Spectrum, Charter, whoever they may be. First of all, why do we have to have a 10-year contract? Our presidents only serve 4-year terms. Our
It's
House of
standard.
Representatives
That's
serve 2
standard.
years.
That is standard for no matter if it's Charter or Comcast. That's pretty standard across the board.
It seems to give a company a lot of leeway, and not being held accountable for many years. So that's my take on it. Second of all, I have found, I've been a customer for over 35 years. I find the price increases are staggering. They exceed the rate of inflation. I'm currently, and I'm a senior citizen, very old. I'm paying over $3,000 a year in cable fees, and we don't have anything fancy. $3,000 a year. Then they wonder why people are dropping cable. It's outrageous. So I would encourage the town to go out to bid, if at all possible. Maybe that's not feasible.
As Bill
It's possible, but no one, we've tried that in we love competition. We want to go out to bid. The only problem is the only companies that have bid to be what they call overbuilders in Massachusetts so far are Verizon will compete in some charter communities like Grafton. Comcast won't overbuild an existing incumbent. Verizon will, and there's one other RCN. And we could call and offer them the red carpet, but Verizon, as town after town has done, will say, we're not adding on any new cable systems. We're getting ready to go to 5G, which might solve this whole problem. Because if they put 5G in their replacement wires, which they say is their long-term plan, where they have phone, 5G will be capable of a very high bandwidth level that could distribute not only their phone, but multi-channel video packages. There could be a solution. But yes, go out to bid is a great idea. And we could make those calls, but it's not that someone will show up on that. On terms of the rates, we are legally prohibited to regulate rates. You can thank Congress for that. They were into deregulation. We used to do rate regulation for basic. It's completely preempted by federal law, unfortunately, with the whole deregulation thing. 10 years is
Well,
another story. The 10 years, it sounds good to have it shorter, so you get another bite at the apple. But every 5 years, you have less and less. The deals get worse and worse because the companies get bigger and bigger and the laws get more deregulated. So the towns sort of have the philosophy, look, here's a chance to like sign a long-term contract with like a top with Tom Brady. You want to lock him up for 10 years instead of 3 years because the contracts get worse over time. So it's a little counter. And it's also, so that's why the towns like the 10-year.
well, the other issue is you really are a monopoly, because if I have no other cable company to go to, so you are a monopoly, and I have to pay over $3,000 a year because you are a monopoly.
What do you got for 3,000? I don't even pay 2,000.
We have internet and cable TV.
That's what I have.
Yeah, well,
You know what I did a couple of times is call them and I got a reduction.
yeah, I've
It's all
tried
you're
that
cutting the
successfully.
cord.
Yeah, tell them that you're a senior
Yeah.
citizen. I got a reduction.
Yeah.
Try it.
And the other issue is in regard to the previous speaker. It is a crime that all houses in Hadley do not have internet coverage. From an educational standpoint, children in Hadley schools, if they live in a home without internet cable access, they are at an extreme disadvantage. So you are depriving Hadley students from an opportunity to learn and to be effective in the classroom because of your reluctance to provide coverage to the
Well,
entire
don't,
town.
why are you saying you? I work with the town.
He's town council on
Town
it.
council.
He's not Spectrum.
Okay. I direct my comments to Spectrum.
Yeah, okay.
Jane?
One thing that we learned in this whole process is the reason other companies tend to not want to bid is because they won't use Charter's lines. They'd have to rewire the whole town,
Mhm.
which, and vice versa. Charter doesn't want to go to Comcast because that in itself is a huge expense. So
Mhm.
they've made their own monopolies by not using each other's equipment, which is to our disadvantage, but we're stuck.
Yeah,
And yes, it would be, we pushed and we're trying very hard to get them to pay attention. But if we don't sign the contract, then everybody in town loses access. So I think we
have
need to
we have
move
get
forward
smart
tonight.
like our kids where they put the Apple device on their TV off their internet and they can get everything.
We gotta have internet to be able to do it.
Well, I mean,
Well, yeah, but you
there's
can
always
get other
satellite. It's not
channels.
great,
You
but
don't have to get the big
it exists.
channels
Mm.
from them. You could get a lower spectrum
Okay, next.
All right.
package. Do you know what I mean?
well, I came here to express my concerns.
And thank you.
And
Thank you.
I'm sure there are a lot of other senior citizens as well as non-senior citizens
Yeah.
who are stuck with these enormous cable bills. And it really is a shame.
Right, and we share those concerns.
Yeah.
We share those concerns. It's just the federal law says we can't regulate rates. The municipal officials, the Massachusetts, the municipal association led the campaigns to try to like stave off rate deregulation. The municipal officials are the ones who fight for reasonable rate regulation. But, it's the deregulation world in Congress and they deregulated it. So we're prohibited. It's a long story, but we hear you and we agree with you. Well, our hands are tied on that.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks for coming.
Are there any other comments or questions? All right.
You want me to make a motion?
Yeah, I can read the other part after you make the
Okay.
motion.
So I make a motion to approve the renewal license for use at this point, the way we have seen it. It's what, 140 pages, something enormous. So I'm not going to read the whole license. Thank you. very much.
Motion.
That motion.
Do you want me to read the whole thing? Okay. Acting in its capacity as a statutory cable company licensing issuing authority pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 166A, and finding that the cable license renewal proposal of Spectrum Northeast LLP doing business as Charter Communications. The town's current cable licensee reasonably meets the license and cable-related renewal needs and interests of the public and town. And finding that Charter's financial and technical qualifications and local support for the local programming channels, studio facilities, and services are reasonable to meet town cable license needs. And based on the recommendation of the town's renewal negotiations council and media director, the Hadley Select Board hereby approves the charter proposed non-exclusive renewal license effective March 19th, 2024, immediately following the expiration of the current license on March 18th, 2024. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. Thank you for your time tonight, Bill,
Thank
you
you.
for all your
And-
hard work. And
and all of you
Council.
as well.
Well, and I have to say thank you for your hard work, Ms. Carolyn and Alex, and they were available at every twist and turn. So thank you very much. And I'll circle back about the contact information for John Marr, for Alex and Carolyn.
great.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
good night.
Good night.
Take care.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move on to 3.1, the consent agenda. Warrants AP 2434, AP 2434S, AP 2435B, AP 2433S, AP 2433, PR 2416, PR 2415. The minutes from February 21st, 2024. Council on Aging Committee resignation, Glenn Clark. Use of town commons, First Congregational Church Sunrise Service, March 31st, 2024. One-day liquor license request for V1 Vodka at the UMass Newman Center on March 9th, 2024. Common Viticular for Latino's Cuisine. Use of the town commons, NEPM Asparagus Festival, June 1st, 2024. One-day liquor license request for the NEPM Asparagus Festival, June 1st, 2024.
Can we pull out the NEPM line items? I believe they're here this evening.
Okay.
And then I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. And the two items that were pulled out, the NEPM Asparagus Festival on June 1st, the use of the town commons, and the one-day liquor license. Open for discussion.
So anything that we need to know, Jennifer?
Well, we met with Vanessa Cirillo and Kyle Homestead. Vanessa is with NEPM and Kyle is with Laudable Productions, who's helping organize the event. So they joined us in our project coordination meeting yesterday. We gave them the conditions to have the event. We've made a few changes. Police, fire, DPW, Board of Health, and inspections have all given them the conditions that they'll need to meet with for approval, and everything else is in order. And Vanessa, I believe, might want to say a few words.
Hi, thank you so much for having us at your meeting today, and we're really looking forward to presenting the Hadley Asparagus Festival with you again this year. It's in its 10th year this year, if you can imagine. So really happy to continue the relationship between New England Public Media and the town of Hadley. And you guys are wonderful to work with, so we're excited to get going.
Make a motion to approve the NEPM use of the town common and the one-day liquor license, subject to favorably meeting any requirements set forth by our department heads.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
All opposed? All right. Thank you.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
It's always the day before my birthday.
We'll sing to you. Thank you.
All right, we're moving into public comments, 4.1. The public comment period is a time for the public to bring their concerns before the select board. We'll hear public comments for 15 minutes. Please try to limit to about 3 minutes so that other members of the public may have an opportunity to speak. Is there anyone here for public comment? All right, come on up, Jack.
Hi, Jack Sikowski, 133 Mount Warner. I have two things that you all should know about. I'm not sure if this is the right time to share them, but I will. On March 22nd at 3 p.m., they're having a public meeting at Plainville Farm. This is co-sponsored between the Hadley Climate Change Committee and actually my brother Wally, to find out if any farmers or farm workers have ideas on how to deal with climate change and its effect on our crops. Each growing season is getting warmer. Rains are becoming more erratic and intense. Should we concentrate on better irrigation or better drainage? How do we keep diseases from destroying our crops? And how do we deal with frosts and warm up? How can we protect our employees working in the heat? So we want to put out to you, to the public, and hopefully this is something that can be broadcast through the network. I saw the news about the shredding day. If you have answers to any of these questions, or if you have more questions, take a few hours that day and help us to move forward as growers. There will be reps from FSA, NRCS, and I think it's American Public Land Trust to offer ideas, and hopefully some people talking about crop insurance. So I wanted to put that all out to you before following up with Scott Mersbach and putting it out in the Gazette. And Alex said that he would help spread the word as well. So,
Great. Yeah, I have a question,
please.
and that you probably can't answer this, Jack. I don't know. Is it appropriate to have a public meeting at a place that is in the town building? Is that's fine?
It's a group
Okay.
of people. They're not elected officials.
Well, he just said they were having a meeting of the climate change committee, so.
We're co-sponsoring this.
Okay,
event.
so my point is, the climate change committee is doing something, you're a town group. I just want to make sure that you're not doing something that is inappropriate, that's all.
Post it.
Okay. And thanks for that advice, actually. Also, I want to announce that the 4th annual Hadley Cleanup Day is happening on April 20th. And I want to thank the folks over at Solid Waste because they are always very good about opening up the transfer station. So volunteers who clean up can actually bring that without having to officially get a sticker for that day. They can just drop off their waste for that day. So I thank them for that. And I invite you all to jump in and help out. So there you go.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
thank you, Jack.
Is there anyone else here for public comments? If you're on the line, any raised hands? Nope. Okay. All right, moving on to old business. 5.1, Young Men's Club inspection fee waiver request. Is that something you want to talk about?
Actually, this was a request that the Young Men's Club asked to have put on. They asked Chief Specknable, and he said that this was a decision of the select board. But I do see Sean Gould, who is the manager of the club, on.
Johnny Mitch Jr.'s there too.
Yeah, and yep.
Is there anything you'd
I
like?
think J&J is Johnny Mitch.
Yeah. Sean, is there anything you'd like to say?
How you guys doing today?
Good.
Yes, we have a revised plan to have a continuous use with fencing. I don't know if Jennifer has a copy of that.
Sean.
Sean,
this
is on something else.
Yeah,
Oh, what do we got on?
the first one was y'all's request for the exemption or the
Inspection fee.
inspection fee waivers.
Oh.
The change comes next.
Gotcha.
Sean, I'll go on this.
Yep, this is you.
So what this is the Spring Fest event is hosted by UMass students. It's a charity for ALS. All the money they make goes to ALS. So they had asked for a waiver of their inspection fees. And the second part of that is for our Country in the Country, which we donate all of our proceeds to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So we had requested that as well.
What kind of numbers are we looking at fees, Jennifer?
I could not tell you. It would be however many vendors they have that Tommy has to do inspections for. And then it would be, and Mike, he and Mike go together with the inspections. There's the stage, there's the tents, there's all of the vendors. I hate to guess that, but
I got the magnitude. I think
Johnny,
it's,
Johnny, what do you have for last year's numbers?
I believe we had for Spring Fest, I think we had 4 or 5 food vendors and we had the stage. In
So-
Country in the Country, I believe we had 5 food vendors, 5 or 6 in the stage.
Do you remember
We
what
also
we
have the
paid?
electrical permit. We also have the electrical for the stage as well.
So Johnny, can I, or Sean, either one of you, can I just ask a question? So you guys are what, a 501c7?
C7, yes.
That's your tax exempt status?
Yes.
Correct.
Right, but I just want to be careful of, when you say you're donating all of your proceeds, you're talking gross receipts? I don't think so, right? So
Not the
are
gross
you
receipts, the gross profits, I'm sorry. I
gross
misspoke.
profit?
The
and that's
profits after paying all of our expenses.
Yeah, but and that's, a lot of that's coming from non-members, right?
For those events this year, well, Country in the Country, majority of it is members that attend. But due to the new licensing requirements with the 1-day license, it is a non-member event for both those events this year.
Right, and
It's
so
open to
you're
the public.
and you're working with your accountant on that, right? In terms of how that's being handled and when you file and everything? And then the
Yes.
reason, okay, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is just that, I appreciate and again, I think it's wonderful what you guys are doing in terms of making the donation of, whatever's left on the bottom line, but that's that's revenue that the town's losing out on for a fair amount of work. And I don't think that it's 100% volunteer. I mean, I'm assuming you guys are paying people to man whatever you need to man for security and all that other stuff. So wouldn't this just be another line item reduction?
It's a
before you
line
get-
item expense. It's less money we can give to St. Jude's at the end of the day.
Right, but I mean,
And
you
it's
got,
less money they can give to ALS at the end of the day. That's where it comes from.
right, and is everybody that's working there giving up whatever they're taking for compensation too, and on all that, or are people still getting compensated, or like, how's it working?
I know we outsource security and such, so they're getting paid. Hadley Police is getting paid. Hadley Fire is getting paid. So we do employ town services for these events. And we don't get a reduction on that. We actually get, like, state police, for instance, charges $55 an hour. Hadley Police charges $80 an hour. So, we actually lose a little money there to give back.
I hear where Molly's coming from, and I agree that this is an expense of running an event, and if your ticket price doesn't cover it, or it does cover it and you give less, that's just the way it is. There are costs involved, and the town can't afford at this point to subsidize putting out that many inspections, because it takes a long time and paperwork is involved. And I'm not happy about this idea.
No, that's not a problem. You can't get an answer if you don't ask.
Can't win if you don't play.
Exactly.
Are there any other further questions about it? Any discussion?
I don't mind if the services were donated. I'm not exactly sure if I had a number on how much it would cost or how much we would lose in the town to offer this service for charity events. I don't have a problem doing it. And again, I would like to have a number, maybe from the chief or something, to know whether or not, you know, how much loss we would take.
I think the whole idea is that the town is paying Tommy
yeah.
to do this.
So effectively, like the
Probably.
town, we wind up subsidizing.
So my
a
sense,
Donation, which we really shouldn't be doing, you know what I mean?
So if we grant this, then who's to stop everybody else in town from coming and saying, hey, we have this event we're doing and we
Yeah.
want to get the inspection fees waived.
like the Asparagus Festival,
Yeah, but they're
I
not,
think it's a
they're
bad
not
precedent.
town, they're not town related, Jane. They're outside the town. They're doing it for other reasons. They're not a town function, so don't compare those two.
But this isn't a town function either. I mean,
Well,
this is social
it's a town club, whereas the the Asparagus Festival isn't Hadley Asparagus Festival. So it makes a difference. Anyway, do what you want to do, but I'm just putting out my 2 cents.
I move we do.
Just if I can just say one more thing. One thing, Randy, that you mentioned that does set us aside from other events that come to town. Last year, Hopkins Soccer, Hadley Park and Rec needed soccer fields. We let them use that at no charge. You know, we do go above and beyond for the community. We're not like other corporations out there, businesses, nonprofits that just come into town.
True. Yeah, I
That's
mean,
all I want. Just want to mention that.
All right. There was a motion by Jane.
I move we do not waive the fee.
okay, all right, I'll second that for either discussion or vote.
Okay. Motioned and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of, so it's like an opposite, so all those in favor of not. Say aye.
I
All opposed.
No.
Okay. Moving on to 5.2. So essentially, the ABCC returned the alteration of premise. So it's like essentially they kicked it back to us. It's like returned as incomplete, essentially. So there's a new revision that's attached, essentially.
So
That is
do we-
correct.
Do we know why it got kicked back as
So
incomplete?
it was complete, it was kicked back because of continuous use. So they wanted the pavilion and fields to be continuous use of the original property. So what we ended up doing was drawing up a new revision on the map. And coming out of the building, we are gonna go through our parking lot, a part of the parking lot, and probably lose, I don't know, 4 or 5 parking spaces, but after that would be continuous use.
Okay, Sean, I think you want to say contiguous, not continuous, meaning it's all together, correct?
Yes, one property.
Okay.
And then Jennifer, were there any concerns that were expressed on the call?
So Carolyn and I did have a phone call with the ABCC Executive Director and Jan, who is the ABCC investigator. Kajowski is his last name. He did raise concerns about the events that were happening at the club, that they were not, that the Young Men's Club was not using their club license as a club any longer. But his findings at this time are very specific to the fact that they feel that the deck is completely and totally permissible at this time. I believe it is, if you're looking at the RNA from them, it's not included on that. They said that they felt that the patio, they called it a patio, that the patio did fall under the ABC guidelines. It was the additional parts, that it was not a contiguous property. They also raised concerns, which I'm not certain there's a whole lot. They raised concerns about the fact that the pavilion was separate and there seemed to be some confusion on how that happened. I pointed out that that was something that had happened years ago and became on part of the license. And so they do feel like having the contiguous would clear that up. But they did have very large concerns about the Young Men's Club was not being used as a club, but that is not what they wrote up on the RNA.
I have a different question
Okay,
for one of the club people.
okay.
When I look at your Facebook page or when I drive by East Street, the sign says club, not the Young Men's Club. Are you changing your name?
No, we are not changing our name. In our bylaws, it states that for advertising purposes, that we are to call ourselves the club, but we are still as the Young Men's Club of Hadley.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna bring this up again. The permit for the Young Men's Club was granted by the zoning board for the main building and the pavilion. Nothing else. I still don't think we have the right to expand that. I think if they want to expand this use, they have to go back before the zoning board.
Randy, has anybody talked to them about that?
Talk to who?
The ZBA, does ZBA agree it's?
I haven't talked to them, but that's where their permit came from. I don't see how we can expand on a permit from another board.
So this is Rich. We're from Club and Bay Road. We're not expanding, Randy. This is the actual club license, including the pavilion. This has nothing to do with the one-day licenses for the concert, Spring Fest, or Fall Fest.
I understand that completely, but
Okay.
I believe your permit allows you to use the main building and the pavilion for.
Exactly. And that's
so
what this is about.
You're asking to use all the lawn in between, and I don't believe that's in your permit.
Okay.
Randy, we're actually looking to use the lawn in between. The club was founded in 1939, way before zoning bylaws. So this has been going on before zoning was even a thing. All we're looking to do is come back into conformance, marry the two together as they should have been when the pavilion was first built.
I understand what you're trying to do, and I'm not trying to put a stop to it, but I think you need to do it in the right way. And maybe if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me and I will stand corrected. But from what I understand, you have two buildings that you're allowed to use, and that is it. And I don't see how the select board can grant you anything different.
But you're not asking to use the property in between except for their,
No, they are.
It-
That is what they're asking now.
so the once a week car shows, what else goes on in that area there?
So they won't be able to park, and if I understand correctly, and if the club people, Johnny and Rich and Sean, if y'all understand differently, correct me. But as I understand, you can't park on part of your licensed premise where you have alcohol. So the parking will only be able to happen, and I've never been to the car show, so I could be completely misspeaking. But they won't be able to park in any grassy areas where the license is now. They'll only be able to park in the parking lot area, because they're connecting the building to the pavilion. And so they're using all of that grass area to connect those two locations to make it contiguous. So all of the parking now will have to be within that contained area because they can't have alcohol where the cars are parked. If I understand it correctly.
No,
I don't know the answer to that.
Where the cars park for the car show, you'll be able to go to the pavilion, purchase a drink, go look at the cars, as we've done for the past 25, 30 years.
Okay, so
That's
I should definitely
the-
check in with the ABCC, because as I understood, the parking of vehicles was the problem. So we definitely need to double check on that, okay?
No, it was an open parking lot. To make it continuous, we had to make it so you couldn't walk through there. Car shows are a little different for the way the events are held. As far as zoning, for the past 20 years, our ex-building inspector, Tim Nyhart, used to come to the car shows every Monday night. We never got written a citation, never told us we're out of conformance
Oh, no.
as a
Johnny,
zoning enforcement officer. Just
Johnny.
going on Randy's point.
Oh, Johnny, I was very specifically referring to the fact about, and again, if you don't park in the grassy areas for the car show, it doesn't matter at all. And I'm completely wrong because like I said, I've never been to one, but I was speaking very specifically to the alcohol, very specifically.
So
Yeah,
show us.
alcohol can't be in the parking lot, the paved parking lot. That's what we had the conversation with the ABCC about. The area in the grass is not a parking lot, it's a display area. So during a car show, it's a display area.
Right, and I'm saying that we should definitely double check that with the ABCC. That was all I was saying, is that it's something that we should check into. And I'm happy to shoot them an email with Sean CC'd and get that taken care of and just double check.
That sounds good to me.
Thanks, okay.
And I would like that we check with town council on my concern. If this happens, I don't have a problem with it happening, Young Men's Club people, but I don't want to give you a permit that we can't give you. You need to get it from the right place. If we're the right place, amen. If we're not, then you need to go there. That's my only issue.
So either Sean or Johnny or Rich, any one of you, I guess I'd kind of forgotten about the whole ZBA thing until Randy just brought it up. Do you remember why it went to ZBA in the first place? I mean, I hear what Johnny's saying, that the club itself has existed, predates a lot of this stuff, but something must have prompted you to, not you, but you know, the club leadership at the time to go to the ZBA. Do you know why?
I actually don't know why.
It does seem like we should get clarity on that. I think I understand
go
better
to
what
the
Randy's
ZBA?
saying.
I think it was.
Yeah, I know
19.
when we went, when I had gone for,
1980,
when I had gone for the pavilion expansion, I know how many years ago, I went in front of the ZBA and they actually asked me, why are you even here? Go ahead and do it. Get a building permit. Same thing with the deck when we added that onto the club. Why are you here? You're, by right, you can build it. You're within zoning. You're within setbacks. So if anything, I would like this to be voted on contingent upon their approval, so we don't get delayed anymore. We're already coming into summer season and we're gonna be missing out on a lot of activities that we can be doing there.
We started this last fall.
So there's not a problem with the deck. That's already been issued, that they can use the deck.
As I understand it, the deck was the patio is, it falls under the ABCC guidelines. So the patio, they can go ahead and start using right now. It's just the additional stuff that's still pending approval.
It's just the grassy area.
So we just need to resubmit, so we just need to resubmit the new plan to ABCC and see what they say.
I would recommend that we not vote on this, but come back in 2 weeks after you've checked with ZBA and see whether they need to hear it again.
I don't see what the.
I think
ZBA
that
has to do
we,
with this.
well, I mean, we can approve contingent upon.
We already can prove contingent
So
with our
we
liquor license, right?
But once you vote on it, I have a clock starts ticking for me to turn it over to the ABCC. So I have about 7 days. So if you're voting on it, I have 7 days before I have to get it to them. And
So how long would it take to get the answer? Because I appreciate, you know, the club's position that they want to move this along as quickly as possible. But I also appreciate Randy's question that I don't think we clearly know the answer to, which is, do we have the authority to do this? Is that something we could try to determine expeditiously with council? And then I know, Carolyn, we're going to have, it sounded like we're going to be scheduling some extra meetings for executive sessions. And maybe we could, you know, rather than waiting a full 2 weeks, we could tack this on in an open session vote at that point.
I think some of it too is as well is if ZBA is what you want, the next step, to make sure that they can put a meeting together.
I
Well,
mean, that's beside the point. We
It's
need
a
to know,
jurisdictional issue.
right, we need to know who is responsible
Right.
for granting this.
Right.
And I think that's town council rendering an opinion on that. And
Yes.
again, it came up when we were talking to the neighbors and I completely had forgotten about that because somebody, we had it in our board doc, somebody produced a ZBA ruling from 1988 or
Mhm.
whatever it was.
So it's very easy to find. It's all recorded in the registry of deeds.
Y'all do have an additional executive session on March 11th right now,
That's next Tuesday,
Monday.
a Monday rather, yeah.
I can't promise you that we're gonna hear back from Adam before that.
So they're
We
all,
can put it on, and then if we can't address it, we don't address it,
so
but
they're all set for the 1-day liquor licenses. That's,
They are.
that's all set.
That's
So-
contingent.
No, it is not.
We made it contingent upon this because we didn't know where they were gonna be, because the separation of the properties. But Ralph Sacramore said that it was okay to do it. With their license currently, it just has to be the clear division, which I'm sorry, I think it was Rich sent you pictures, not just me, send them to Tommy and Mike as well, of the fencing that they're going to delineate the property from, and they understand. We met with them, I'm sorry, I should say that as well. We also met with the Young Men's Club for the 1 days with their conditions, and they've know everything they have to comply with. So they are, Jane is correct, they were contingent.
So the
upon that.
1-day liquor licenses is for the property that's beyond the
Correct.
pavilion. So it has nothing to do with the ZBA property in between the club and the pavilion.
I am not a legal expert. I feel very uncomfortable attempting to answer that.
Joyce, the
I-
1-day licenses are for the easternly side of the property, which have been approved, which we are going forward with Springfest and Country in the Country. We've talked to ABCC about this. I believe Jennifer's been in contact with them about it as well. Because the way it stood with the pavilion being under a separate license, the way our liquor license is written out, it does not cover the back fields. So you are allowed to pull a liquor license for an area of the property that is not covered, which is what we did for the 1 days.
Right.
And I had asked y'all to make the vote contingent upon this approval, because I did not want the confusion that was going to ensue from where we are now. I didn't know that they were going to find this RNA and everything. I didn't know that the ABCC was sending this back. So y'all did vote upon it contingent upon the ABCC approval. Jane is correct. I went back and I've looked at my notes, and that is what I asked of y'all. So that is not on the agenda tonight, though, so you cannot correct it. But I don't have or foresee any problems with it being on your agenda, either this next one on the 11th or on the 20th, and y'all changing that vote, because we went and did further research.
Okay.
What a cluster.
You know, with liquor licenses, they get very tricky. When things are changing, it gets difficult. So we just keep working together and we can get through it.
This
Yeah,
is,
it
this is what
just-
I
it
had
just
asked for
seemed-
last time at this meeting. I had asked to not place a contingent for this exact reason. Now, we had the meeting with the town. The town said we're all good, everybody, including Jennifer. And we have people that are selling tickets. We've put money down. So what do we do now? Because
done this.
Jennifer, like you said, it needed more research. This should have been done before. Now
So what we're
we're left
doing-
holding the bill.
I don't believe you're holding a belt. I think that I very clearly just offered 2 solutions to the select board.
So, yeah, we're gonna bring this, because the alteration is still in limbo at the moment, what we're doing at our next at our next meeting is correcting that we had put contingencies on the one-day liquor licenses.
So let
So
me just
that would be-
clarify that for, don't presuppose what's happening, you're addressing it.
So we're addressing that we had put a contingency on it at our next meeting.
Right, and we're offering to do that as expeditiously as possible.
So we have an opportunity to do that very sooner than 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
Okay,
That works.
okay.
So we're tabling this.
Yes, at the
So if I
moment.
may ask, this is just for clarification. What do we do with all the pavilion events that have been scheduled? Do we need to cancel those?
It's not your,
We're gonna try to resolve it, Rich, as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
That's really a discussion for you guys to have. If you think that there's significant risk, that would be a conversation that would take place at the club or with your council, but
Yeah.
we're gonna try to get this resolved as quickly as we can.
Okay. Moving on to 5.3, public comment policy adoption. So I know this is something that we kind of talked about quite a few times.
And this was revised, right, where we had clarification on one section of it.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. Can I get, do we need, someone need a second? Alright,
I'll make a motion to approve the public participation at meetings of public bodies policy as presented.
Second.
alright, motion and seconded. Any discussion?
Oh, we had it last time too. We discussed it, so we're.
Alright. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright,
Amy, can I just ask, but Scott's been on for a while. Is he still on or he got off?
yeah,
Oh, he's there.
Okay, if you can do 6.2.
okay. We're moving 5.4 anyway. And then we're also pushing off 6.1.
Right.
So Scott is here on the line. Hi, Scott. And
Good evening.
he has 2 individuals that he would like to tell us about.
Hi, we were able to find a couple candidates for employment for the DPW. And we'd like to bring them in front of for you to approve for hire. One is Thaddeus Mish. He came highly recommended from the Rex Farm to us. He's a current employee there. And the other is Ted Casey. He was a former employee at the DPW, and he reapplied to come back.
Why did he leave, Scott?
He thought that things would be better for him somewhere else, and it didn't turn out that way. He had logistic things with family, etc.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Welcome
Thank
back,
you.
Theodore, and welcome Thaddeus.
Yep.
All right. Any other items not anticipated 48 hours in advance? No. Okay, great. 8.1 Town Administrator's Report.
Okay, so we've, Troy just updated for me the HR hiring, what's in process. So you've got those on paper right there. Let me scoot down. Obviously the cable renewal contract was completed today. And I have no update on the fiber. We'll probably get that from Michael soon. The town received 17 requests for qualifications to date for the OPM, and the submissions are due March 27th. That's a fantastic reply. So I think that will go really well. April 3rd is when the DPW Building Committee will review all of those proposals and rate them. And they'll have some recommendations for you after that. Girls softball field is underway. Municipal solar, I am still doing my due diligence to find the most efficient way to move forward on that. I'm gonna put that on a future agenda with a recommendation on how to move forward. I'll help put that on the select board's meeting to discuss in the future. The Russell School reuse study, we have a kickoff meeting scheduled for March 11th. Town Hall column, same situation, but it looks like the weather's starting to warm up, so that is good. I just want to remind you all that there is a select board conference for select board members, rural and Western Mass, at the Hotel Northampton on April 27th. If you want to go, please let me know. I want to thank Kathy Nelson, who is the recycling coordinator with some of her grant funds, to put on a shred event, which will be March 30th from 10 to 12 here at the Senior Center. And I just wanted to highlight that the Amherst Area Chamber is having an event at Pins, an after 5 event. Oh, did I have the date in there?
You didn't.
I didn't. Okay.
After 5.
It's after 5. It's soon though. I'm sorry. But one of the highlights is, and I'll get that information to you, is they're going to be highlighting Amy Jennings, our recreation director. So if you could make it, that would be great. And then I did update the warrant. That continues to get updated, so you can continue to look at it and review it. But I did want to make sure Joyce knows that Scott was very successful and did a great job at the Community Preservation Committee meeting the other night to get approval for architect or engineering design for the town hall. So that would be whether it's painting or historical siding, but a window replacement, and to replace the concrete steps and a wheelchair ramp, whether it's repair or a new one. So
Great.
Right. Does anyone have any items for future discussion that they'd like to add?
Yes, I would like, we started a discussion last year after the Asparagus Festival about whether or not it was appropriate to have that in Hadley. I would like to continue that discussion and make a final statement about it, because frankly, I was surprised to hear they were coming back after what we had been saying about the difficulty for the town, the cost to the town of time and energy that was not reimbursed for the actual event. And maybe there's a way to ask for a percentage of their income to pay the town overall, or reassess whether or not we want to have that kind of disruption in our town again. So I would like that on the agenda.
So could I ask maybe I think what would be more helpful for the whole board is to discuss use of the commons.
Use
and
of the
look back
common,
at
that's
old-
where we started.
Look back at old policies, not just specific to the Asparagus
Right.
Festival, but,
Right.
and that, I don't see that as a one night discussion. I think it's
But we should
something-
start it.
We should definitely start it.
I mean,
So
we started it and we stopped it, so we need to.
it's a big topic.
It
So
is.
I think,
Okay.
And we didn't ever finish either the parking on the common down towards the dike, because that has been extremely congested down at that end of the town, and a lot of parking has been going on the side street. Overflow, shall we say, from the small Dawson parking lot. So I have seen numerous cars, and people have complained about parking on the common now too.
So
At
put
that
that
end.
on an agenda.
Yeah.
yeah.
We never did finish it with
Correct.
Okay. Any other items to add to an agenda? Got a pretty busy next meeting. All right. Is there any liaison reports?
I just have one thing. I'm going to be forwarding an email to all of you. If you recall, with the Housing and Economic Development Committee, we have that project working with the University of Massachusetts, and they're doing some visioning. They selected the Hampshire Mall site, and the Hampshire Mall's on board with this. Again, it's an exercise. It's not a recommendation by any means, but just the students with the LARP program, the Landscape Architecture and Regional Planning Group, it's underway, and on Wednesday, the 13th, it'll be in the afternoon. They've invited not only people from our committee and the mall to come over and kind of see where they're at right now, and what they've been up to, but they also wanted the invitation extended to other elected officials. So I forwarded that invitation to the planning board, and I'll be forwarding it to all of you as well.
That's this next Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 13th, and I think it's 1:45, but
And
it'll
where?
be in the email.
Where is it?
It's going to be at the design building over at the university.
Okay, thank you.
That's on campus.
All right, any other liaison reports? Announcements?
So a sorrowful one tonight that announced the passing of Molly's mom. And here I go again, I got the Michigan.
Don't get me going.
Michigan eyes here, but her mother, Patricia Dubio, was quite well known throughout the area with her different teaching jobs that she held. I even had somebody at work today say, "Oh, she taught me Latin at Holly Junior High." So she certainly was certainly well known throughout this area. So certainly our condolences to you and your family.
Thank you.
And she had 5 children, and she ended up living with Molly.
Yeah.
Out of all of them.
I know. Didn't say she had good judgment, so.
I can say that you certainly have taken great care of them.
Thank you.
Any other announcements? All right. I'm going to make a motion that we move into executive session pursuant to open meeting law, chapter 30A, section 21A, part 1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. Personnel DPW, chapter 30A, section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting law may have detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares litigation. Fire department, and chapter 30A, section 21(2)(6), to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, and also not to reconvene an open session.
So
Second, yeah, whatever.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. Can I please get a roll call vote?
Roll call vote, Keegan,
Yes.
Chungalo,
yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Nevin Smith.
Yes.
And Isaac.
Yes.